I just got done watching Wolfman and Jesus Christ, man, was it bad. Now, this should be no surprise to anyone. Any movie made by Blumhouse, it's almost like a 90% chance of the film being bad and a 10% chance of the film being kind of decent. Unfortunately, luck was not on their side because this was bad, and I mean really bad. I'm talking like Night Swim levels of bad. Even when the trailer came out, people just knew this one was going to be one of the bad ones that Blumhouse makes every January. And if you don't know, this is pretty much the time of year where Blumhouse releases their movies at the beginning of the year because it's the time where no one sees anything, so everyone just releases their shitty horror movies. Even back on the trailer, just watching it, I just kind of knew this one was going to be a bad one. But there are very, very little things that were kind of decent, so let's talk about it. First off, the bad. What I think the worst part about this film is probably the characters, especially the wife character played by Julia Gardner, and holy shit was she awful in this film. I genuinely thought she just did not give a single fuck. She wanted a paycheck and she wanted to go home because, my god, was it blatantly obvious she was the worst actor in this entire film. She's supposed to play someone who is in love with her husband, and throughout the entire film she did not express that emotion, not even a single time. Now, I know the film sets up this story where they're not doing too great and it seems like they might get divorced, but even in the moments where she was feeling sad for her husband and, you know, sad for the situation that he's in, she still looked like she didn't give a fuck. I don't know what other films or projects she was a part of, but holy shit, she was just bad. Genuinely one of the worst actresses and performances I've seen in a Blumhouse film in a very long time, and that's saying something. Like, out of all the Blumhouse films, she probably gave the worst performance that I've ever seen. I kid you not, this has to be emphasized. Like, she is bad. Everyone else in this movie really didn't stand out at all. The husband character, played by Christopher Abbott, definitely seemed like he tried the hardest out of everyone, but it didn't really land well with me. I didn't really believe any of his performances. The child character, or the daughter, played by Matilda Firth, is just the typical child actress. Nothing special at all. Yeah, trust me, there really isn't much to really talk about the actors and actresses and performances they did. It was just all bad, really bad. Editing I also thought was pretty bad. There's these times where, because spoiler alert, the main character is a wolf, and there's these times where he has this like POV vision where it's all really colorful and really bright, and it really gets to show the audience what it's like being this wolf character. But I swear to God, that is only in the film for maybe 30 seconds in the entire film. They were just that lazy about it. They could have done more with this thing. It was actually kind of cool. It's one of the good things they actually did with this film, but they didn't do anything special. Music wasn't anything special. There was maybe like one time where the music fit the tone really well and I was pretty immersed. That was pretty much at the beginning, but after that it really didn't matter. The story is really bad and the writing with that is also really bad, but I really want to talk about that more when I talk about spoilers. The whole concept of someone becoming this wolf man character also doesn't make any sense. Again, I'll explain it more later. They really didn't do anything special with any camera work. The design they did for the character that becomes the wolf was kind of interesting and kind of cool, but it was also kind of lazy at the same time. Like, we really didn't get to see a full-fledged wolf character with his fur out and fangs and everything. We got to see bits and pieces of it, but not enough to be like, oh wow, he's a real wolf, and that's really scary. Pretty much the entire film was just shot in like the darkest scenes ever, and I know why they're so dark. It's because, again, they're trying to hide imperfections in the CGI. So yeah, 90% of this film is dark. Even in the scenes at the beginning of the film where the sun is out and the sun is shining, it still looks dark. How do you even do that? I'm so tired of films doing this. It's like, is the sun not real in this universe? Yeah, overall, you can just tell that this movie just did not have any passion behind it at all. No, Blumhouse films are, their logic is to just make a movie as cheap as possible so you can make a profit. You know, sometimes Blumhouse puts passion and, you know, heart and soul behind these films, even if they know they're going to be bad. You can just tell this was not one of those films that they truly cared about. Now, I don't really have much more to talk about. Really, this was just a bad movie. Skip to this end section or this part of the video if you want to know my score and what else I have to say, but I'm going to start spoiling this film, and trust me, this is not one of those films that you need to go out and go see in theaters. I'm a little late behind this because it was my my birthday week, so I've been busy and doing other stuff that's not YouTube videos. So yeah, if you still care about this film, click off or go to the end. But yeah, talking about spoilers right now. Film starts out in the past where the main character is a child and he has a dog and a dad, and they go out hunting, and it seems like the film was trying to set up this plot point where the character's dad was abusive, but they don't really do anything with that. In fact, it seems like half the time this movie keeps changing writers, because there's a scene where the child is like doing these chores and doing these things that's like he's afraid that if he doesn't do them he's going to get beat or something, but it doesn't end up mattering because the dad doesn't really act that abusive at all. So they're all hunting, and eventually the son splits up because he hears something and he wants to shoot a deer, but he actually sees a wolf in the distance, and it was pretty funny because it's just a wolf right there standing up, and the dad is like, hey, what are you doing? And he's yelling at him, telling him to stay near him. Obviously this is not a sign of abuse. This is a worrying parent that's concerned. Even throughout this hunting trip, they've the dad tries to teach the kid like some life lessons and everything. Eventually it starts raining and they need to get to this this deer watch, and eventually the wolf is getting onto them and they hide, and the dad is getting ready to shoot him because they're on the top of this thing where they're sitting, and it seems like the wolf is climbing around them, but the dad manages to scare them off, I believe. I also don't remember too much about it, but that's what essentially happens. Later, they're at home, and then the dad is talking on the radio, implying that he knows about this wolf creature, and he's been studying and hunting it for a while, but hasn't been able to catch it and figure out what it is. The son sees this and is like, Dad, what are you doing? And he trips over something, one of those two. And then the son runs away, and the dad doesn't say anything, and then the movie cuts 30 years into the future. Yeah, great job setting up the story. Like I said before, it seems like this movie has like 20 different writers coming in and out at the same time. So now 30 years later, the main character is married to someone and has a child, and he seems to be a happy, loving father, but the wife doesn't give a shit about him. In fact, the one time when she comes home, she seems to be more happy talking about her job on the phone, and then when she gets off, she's all pissy and moody about everything. They also set up this whole thing that's definitely not going to come at the end of the film, where the daughter's like, I can read your mind, Dad, I know what you're feeling. Yeah, that's definitely not going to be a factor that comes in at the end of the film. The next day, the dad sits outside with the wife, getting off of work, and she seems happy. Then when she sees her husband, she's all of a sudden all moody and pissed off again, and he tells her that, his dad died from the beginning of the film. He's now dead, and they need to move to go get his stuff, and yeah, he offers to, take the wife and the kid to go on this trip to collect their things, and it'll help rebuild the relationship, because then they hint at them getting a divorce possibly. So she says yes, and they're on this trip, and then right before they even get there, they meet this stranger who is apparently a friend of how do you remember? It's like the son of a friend of the main character's dad, and he's this total fucking creep that offers to tell them where to go to get to the right place, because I guess they're lost, and of course there's no signal, so they can't get a map, no GPS, all blah cliches. He makes these comments towards his wife, but it seems like it's also implied that it's towards his daughter, and the husband doesn't say anything, and that's very fucking creepy and concerning. Doesn't really fucking matter, because in the middle they're yapping, the dad driving sees the wolf man standing in the middle of the street, and then they crash and fall off this 20-30 foot cliff or something, even though they're in the mountains. So it's how high up were they? I've been to the mountains, I've been around West Virginia. If you fall off one of those cliffs, you're not falling that long. At most, you're falling 10 feet, but I swear the movie implied they were falling 30 to 50. I don't even know, man. So after that, the car or the truck they're in, the U-Haul, gets stuck in a tree after falling. The friend that they just met falls out. It seems like he's going to be fine, but then he gets dragged away by the wolf, and it's very funny. So the family manages to get out, and they find the house because they need to figure out what's going on, and they know the wolf is chasing them because they can hear it, so they're running through the dark woods and everything. They get inside the house, and they barricade it and try to wait for the next day. But oh no, the husband, turns out he got scratched when they were stuck in the tree because the wolf was hiding around some weird corners, smashing the glass and not doing anything else. It was genuinely so funny seeing that the wolf knew that there was someone in the passenger car, or the driver's seat, and he just smashed the glass glass. He was doing it to just smash the glass, not to grab who was in the car. So it's like, what the fuck? And I guess he scratched the main character in that entire tussle. Then a lot of scenes happen. Essentially, they look around the house, try to figure out what's going on, try to turn on the power and everything like it's a COD Zombies map. Husband getting scratched slowly transforms into the Wolfman, and this is all really scary because he's starting to hear spiders up in the ceiling, and that's really cool that they do that. That was actually a really cool scene. I was like, oh shit, someone's in the house, but it was just a spider because he can hear really good. He's scratching himself a lot and chewing at his bones because he's like fucking itchy or something. Wife the entire time does not give a single fuck, and in fact seems like she's pissed off. There's also moments during this whole scene where like the characters are not doing anything and they're like staring at each other, and the music does this stupid manipulating bullshit thing to imply like something intense is going on, when in reality it's just two characters staring at each other because the music is like trying to manipulate the scene to make it more dramatic than it really is. Yeah, just have two characters stand around in a house looking very awkward and confused and just play some dramatic suspenseful music. Yeah, that's definitely how you make a film. But eventually they get hunted by the other wolf that's trying to hunt them. And as this is all happening, the main dad character just transforms into a wolf. So there's a bunch of scenes where they're trying to get out. And I kept note of this. I'm sorry, because it just shows how incompetent the people making these movies are. When the wife leaves because she's like, oh shit, my husband's turning into a wolf and there's another wolf out there, so we need to get out and go to that truck that I saw. She leaves the house and shuts the door, but eventually she comes running back in because they realize they can't stay out there. And the door is locked, but she never locked the door when she left. So how the fuck is the door locked? Does the door automatically lock when you shut it? Because if it does, that would be very convenient. But when she leaves the house initially, she sees the truck and she tries to get her kid and the husband, you know, inside. And oh no, the car won't stop. So she just got to make all these loud noises, turning it on and slamming the hood and putting gas in or starting the battery or whatnot. And again, she's making a lot of noise. And then the car starts up, turns on the wipers, and bam, there's the first wolf standing right there, waiting conveniently for her to turn on the wipers. And he, you know, smashes the windshield from the outside and is like, grrr, his hand's shaking, but doesn't seem like he's trying to like do anything. This just feels like a cheesy 90s movies where like monsters aren't really trying to grab or kill you. They're just trying to be like, ah, look at my claws and everything. Eventually, then they go on top of the greenhouse or area where there's these like plastic, like there's this plastic roof, and like it's implied that they're going to rip or like they're going to break it by standing on it too much. But the wolf is underneath of it and makes these scratches, and it's like a cat when you're playing with a cat. It waits to jump up to grab the toy. That's essentially what the original wolf was doing. It was just like playing with them, because one time the daughter like broke the plastic roof and her legs were exposed, and it was like, oh, the wolf can easily just grab her, but he waits and doesn't do anything. He waits for her to be almost free and for him to make a jump. It's like, was he waiting or something? Yeah, but then they're trying to get back in the house to, you know, protect themselves, and this is the part where the door is just locked. So they get on the other side, and eventually the wolf, or the dad character transforms into a wolf fully, you know, and then he has to fight the other wolf because he breaks in, and there's this tussle that happens and everything. And then we eventually find out through, I believe, the tattoo on the wolf that they've been running from is the main character's dad. He turned into a wolf. Now, I'm going to stop what I'm talking about to explain how stupid this is. Throughout this film, we have seen the main dad character turn into a wolf. It is implied that they were stuck in this house for, I want to say 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 hours. So, okay, it takes that much time for someone to turn into a wolf after they were scratched, because they crashed into the tree, they ran into the forest and got into the house, and hours passed. Let's just say for safe, it's 4 hours. So for 4 hours... that's how long it takes for someone to transform into a wolf. So the dad character is a wolf, so it took him 4 hours. But this doesn't make any fucking sense because of the house. You mean to tell me in the 4 hours that he knew he was going to turn into a wolf? Mind you, he knew he was going to turn into a wolf. He moved everything out of his basement and even set up raw meat in his basement because it implied that like he had that there. Maybe if he, being a wolf man, was just like he was smart enough to hunt meat and hook it up, but also take out his radio equipment? Why would he do that? Was he not studying the wolf? It doesn't make any fucking sense. All of this happened in the span of, I want to say, 4 hours?
That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
You have got to be fucking kidding me. He knew he was going to turn into a wolf, so in preparation, he had his entire house cleaned and ready for him to be a wolf, even though he was living into the forest. So why the fuck was his house all cleaned up and everything, and all the radio equipment that he had in the beginning of the film moved away? Why was all the hunting equipment not in the house as well? What happened to all the guns? You know, maybe these things can be answered, but it will not help this film. Yeah, they have the tussle, and then the dad wolf dies, and now the main character wolf is a feral wolf, and the wife and kid seems like they're scared, and it's implied that he wants to kill himself, but he also keeps chasing his wife and kid around the entire area. There's this time where he chases them into the shed and he gets caught in a wolf trap, and then they also use the wolf vision that I thought was pretty cool. But why is he chasing them and trying to scare them if he doesn't want to hurt them? If he wants to die, then why not just let them kill him or let them go away or run away? But that doesn't fucking matter. You know, they run into the woods because I guess they just know where to go to the original truck, because the friend who died had a gun on him conveniently. I mean, I guess it makes sense because he was out there hunting. So, yeah, it makes sense. He had a gun on him, so the wife and the kids take the gun and run into the same deer stand place where they look out for deers, the deer look. And it reenacts the same scene at the beginning where now the main character, being a wolf, is crawling around the watch lookout, and he peeks over. I can't even talk right now. He peeks his head over, and the wife shoots him, and yeah. He dies, and it's implied that he wanted it to happen because the kid was like, "Dad, I know what you're thinking. It's okay. We'll be fine." And this entire time, the wife doesn't give a single fuck. It's almost as if she was happy that he died. And they go off, look out into the sunset, because earlier in the film, there was this whole big thing on like, oh, the lookout and the view of where we're going is to die for, and they do it and the movie ends. And fuck this movie. Yeah, this movie was just bad. I don't recommend anyone watch this film. The writing was extremely lazy and predictable. You just knew what was going to happen when it happened. Everyone knew who the main identity of the original wolf was. It wasn't even a surprise at all. The female lead is a complete asshole and a bad character, and she's a horrible actress in this film. So it really didn't drive home with anything with that. The first 10 minutes of this film was probably the best, but that's really all I can say. The music is very lazily put in this film because it's layered on top of scenes of characters just standing around doing nothing and being completely awkward, so it doesn't mean anything. There's these random 90-degree angle turns that the film does sometimes where like the character's like transforming and he's like his body's reacting and the camera turns like 90 degrees. I don't know why that happens twice, and it's very weird, as if somebody tried to get all artsy with it at the end. And throughout this entire film, I just wanted it to end. When the first wolf died, I was just like, oh my god, can we just go now? Like, I wasn't invested at all. I didn't care about the characters. There's no message, no meaning, just a waste of fucking time. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna really say about this movie. What did I give it? 2 out of 10. That's what I give it. It's just bad. There's like 1 to 2 things to really like about this film. That's really it. And then even then, the things that are good just did not last long enough. It wasn't scary. It wasn't spooky. It wasn't anything. It was more funny than anything. Don't bother wasting your time. This film is a waste of time. Really bad. It has only made around $30 million, which is really bad considering its budget was $25 million. Maybe that's enough to be a profit, but typically you want to make 3 times that amount, or 2.5. So yeah, this was just another Blumhouse failure. Don't bother watching this film. 2 out of 10. That's all I'm going to say. Everyone, I hope you guys have a good one. I hope you're all doing well. And yeah, bye.